Keith Olbermann was once a big name at ESPN and a loud voice on MSNBC, and now he's just a broken man. Around 2016, Keith grew ill with Trump Derangement Syndrome, and it completely derailed his career. To understand how he ended up here, we have to go back, because the warning signs were evident from the start. In the 80s and 90s, Keith Olbermann rose to stardom at ESPN. By the 2000s, he was anchoring on MSNBC, but Olbermann burnt bridges everywhere he worked. At ESPN, colleagues said his exit brought unrestrained joy. He feuded with bosses and rivals at every stop. Fox Sports fired him for insubordination. MSNBC suspended him for defying network rules. He even got himself fired from Al Gore's failed network, Current TV, after throwing a tantrum, one incident reportedly involving a glass mug being thrown hard enough to shatter, putting staff in danger.
Keith Olbermann was fired on Friday when they said at the time that Current was founded on values of respect and openness, and they said that those values are no longer reflected in our relationship, according to its statement, with Keith Olbermann, and we have ended it.
By 2007, Keith purchased a luxury apartment in Trump Palace, one of Donald Trump's most prestigious New York buildings. For nearly a decade, he walked past the Trump name every single day without a worry in the world. But 8 years later, when Trump entered politics, Keith became disillusioned with the luxury apartment he called home.
Do you miss politics? Do you miss commenting on everything?
I live in a Trump building.
You do? What do you mean a Trump building?
The building that has Trump on the side of it. It says Trump here and Trump that, and the neighbors and other residents of New York like to throw things at the sign, which is literally true. And so I feel like I'm involved with politics because this guy is screwing with my property value.
And as Trump's campaign gained steam, Olbermann's paranoia became reality. He literally abandoned his own home because of Trump. In early 2016, Olbermann moved out of his Trump luxury apartment saying he didn't have enough spit left, basically saying he'd been spitting on his own building. And honestly, when it comes to Keith, that tracks.
You wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post entitled, "I Can't Stand to Live in a Trump Building Anymore."
Yes.
Tell us why.
First up, if anybody's looking for an apartment in New York City, I can help you out with a good lead. But secondly, I ran out of, I couldn't go under the sign anymore that said Trump Palace without spitting, because and I ran out of spit, and I just couldn't do it anymore because the premise of the campaign, I don't think he has a reasonable chance of getting elected. And at this point, from what I'm hearing, I don't think he's even going to get the nomination.
Around this time, Keith had been without a major platform for over a year. In September 2016, GQ saw an opportunity. They hired Keith as a special correspondent to launch a web series called The Closer, a show dedicated entirely to attacking Trump before the election. Finally, Keith had a platform again, and he was ready to unleash everything. On the air, Olbermann's commentary grew more extreme as the election neared. He bombarded viewers with lists of Trump's shocking offenses, ranting that Trump was assaulting American democracy itself. 7 days before the 2016 election, Keith Olbermann put out a video calling Trump a Russian agent. And remember, this is before the Mueller investigation, before Trump was even in office. This was Russiagate in its infancy, and Keith was already all in.
Trump may not be a paid Russian agent. He may just be stupid enough, or disloyal enough, or anti-democracy enough, or just evil enough to be doing it for free.
By election night 2016, Keith Olbermann was in full meltdown. When Donald Trump won, he posted a video titled "The Terrorists Have Won." In it, he unloaded, calling Trump the spokesman of hate and fear, accusing the FBI of a coup, and vowing to never surrender.
This is Wednesday, November 9th, 2016, and this is The Closer. I'd like to begin by congratulating the FBI on its successful coup against the electoral process of the United States of America. Last night, Americans, certainly half of them with no more sense of the permanence or importance of their decision than they brought to their votes for American Idol, opened the door and put the spokesman for hate and fear and bluster and, most of all, incompetence in charge of the nation.
In the days that followed Trump's victory, GQ quietly rebranded his show from The Closer to The Resistance, a name that now perfectly captured his singular mission. Keith's rhetoric only intensified with the name change. In one episode, he compared Trump to history's worst dictators, declaring,
"A sane man does not invoke Lincoln and a great national campaign to rebuild our country at 1 hour, and then 96 hours later insist, 'I won the popular vote if you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally.' These are not words of sanity. These are the rages and the boasts and the madness that we have seen throughout history. Saddam Hussein, Mussolini, Fidel Castro, Mao Zedong, Stalin, Pol Pot, Bin Laden. Hitler.
From there, Keith kept cranking out daily anti-Trump videos, and once Inauguration Day came and went, his meltdowns went into overdrive. Barely a week into Trump's first term, Keith was already demanding Trump's resignation.
It's time for Donald Trump to resign as president,
he said just 4 days after the inauguration, claiming Trump was not of sound mind. When Trump eased some regulations, Olbermann bizarrely warned it was now a threat to the life of your dog or cat. In one unhinged segment, he raved that Trump's FDA decisions could poison pet food, practically accusing Trump of wanting to kill puppies.
the pet food company's profits are now more important than whether or not your dog lives or dies. Can you look at your dog or your cat right now and still support this man? Thanks for listening. Hug your pet for me.
But let's be honest, at this point, we all know how much Donald Trump cares about cats and dogs.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
But in all seriousness, Keith's tone grew apocalyptic. Every Trump move was, in Keith's eyes, the end of the republic. He hysterically claimed Russian interference in 2016 was
The worst sneak attack against this country since 9/11 or even Pearl Harbor.
In that same month, Keith hilariously revealed that he doesn't understand memes. On July 2nd, 2017, Keith demanded Trump's cabinet invoke the 25th Amendment immediately after Trump tweeted that epic video of him body slamming that CNN logo as seen here. Resign or be forced from office. Keith wasn't joking. His delusions were hitting a whole new level. All year, he continued to spew predictions that Trump would be gone any day. In August 2017, Olbermann confidently predicted Trump would resign, and it will happen suddenly. He was sure Robert Mueller's investigation was about to end Trump's presidency in disgrace.
For weeks now, I have been anticipating that Trump's last day in office will dawn like all the others, and then around dinner time, it'll suddenly break that he is about to resign. I don't know if that's next Tuesday or next year.
By the end of 2017, after roughly 187 episodes of propaganda, Olbermann was spent. In November, he abruptly announced he was retiring from political commentary because he claimed Trump is finished. In his final episode of The Resistance, Keith smugly assured viewers that the nightmare would soon be over and Trump would be out of office prematurely.
My work here is done. Matter of fact, so is Trump's. Resist, remove, peace.
And without Trump as immediate foil, Olbermann went quiet for a while. After his failed prophecies, Olbermann found himself back at ESPN in January 2018, hosting SportsCenter and calling baseball games. But he just couldn't stay away from politics. By 2020, with a new election looming and his political obsession reignited, Olbermann knew what he had to do. On October 6, 2020, he quit ESPN for the third time to devote himself entirely to attacking Trump in the 2020 election through his YouTube channel. He launched a new YouTube series, and by October 2020, just weeks before the election, Keith delivered his most infamous meltdown yet. In a single breath, he called President Trump a terrorist and then went after the millions of Americans who supported him.
Trump can be and must be expunged. The hate he has triggered, the Pandora's box he has opened, they will not be so easily destroyed. So, let us brace ourselves. The task is twofold. The terrorist Trump must be defeated, must be destroyed, must be devoured at the ballot box. The fight is not just to win an election, but to win it by enough to chase, at least for a moment, Trump and the maggots off the stage.
This was no longer political commentary, it was a vengeful obsession. Keith Olbermann had given everything to the war against Trump, including his sanity. Olbermann tried to reinvent himself on the internet, but it didn't pan out. His post-ESPN YouTube rants drew attention only when he went fully off the deep end. Outside the anti-Trump Twitter bubble, interest had waned. By 2021, he had no TV show, no column, just his aging social media following. In 2022, Keith attempted a comeback of sorts with a new political podcast, hoping to capitalize on his resistance fame. At first, it seemed like a success. He even bragged that his podcast hit the Apple Top 50 chart on debut. But that was just a mirage, a typical algorithm boost for new shows. Within weeks, his podcast plummeted in the rankings, falling outside the top 150. The audience just wasn't there. As one media critic quipped, "Never brag about your first week ranking." Keith learned that the hard way. Increasingly desperate, Olbermann even begged for his old jobs back. Before launching the podcast, he reportedly sent a $5,000 5,000-word email to NBC executives pleading for another chance on MSDNC. The answer was no. The industry had moved on. Rachel Maddow had long eclipsed him at MSDNC, and nobody was interested in hiring a violent 60-something agitator with a trail of burned employers. By now, some of Keith's old fans and peers began to realize something was very wrong. On Reddit forums, once supportive viewers lamented that Keith Olbermann has squandered whatever serious legacy he had. They talked about how his unprofessional conduct and obsessive grudges had destroyed his reputation. Ex-ESPN anchor Sage Steele said she and others had known for many years that he is losing it. She called it heartbreaking to watch someone who was once a role model descend into bitterness. And to top it off, his own longtime agent acknowledged the brutal truth. Keith had been fired from nearly every job he'd ever held. He always had to burn the house down every time. Keith Olbermann's feud with Trump had left him a man without a career, without allies, and without a platform. And honestly, this is kind of just sad. Trump never even acknowledged Keith's existence. While Olbermann spent years obsessing over Trump, tweeting at him thousands of times, Trump continued on with his life. Keith kept obsessing over him every single day. In fact, a whole academic analysis of Keith's tweets was done during this time. They found that by far his most used word was Trump, more than twice as often as any other word. Trump was living rent-free in Keith's mind, and this was now backed up by research. He also continued to chase the ghosts of Russiagate. In 2023, when an ex-FBI official was charged with improper ties to a Russian oligarch, Keith loudly proclaimed that
the Trump-Russia story roared back from the dead yesterday, and basically, nobody noticed.
He was desperate to be proven right about Trump somehow being a Russian agent. But the story fizzled and Keith's triumph never came. As the 2024 election approached, Olbermann's mania only intensified. In late 2023 and early 2024, various long-shot legal efforts tried to keep Trump off state ballots. When those efforts failed, Keith had a genuine meltdown. After the Supreme Court ruled that states like Colorado could not bar Trump from the 2024 ballot, Keith erupted on X in an emotional frenzy. He cursed the court, lamented democracy's doom, and essentially panicked at the thought of Trump winning again. In March 2024, Olbermann hit a new low. He openly fantasized about Trump's death, denying that he was calling for an assassination, but in practically the same breath, Keith tweeted that he hoped Trump would be treated worse than Lincoln. In other words, he wanted Trump to be convicted of crimes and then die in prison. After 9 years of seething hatred, Olbermann was now openly wishing for his enemy's demise. And when Trump's life actually did hang in the balance and he was almost killed at the Butler rally, Keith didn't condemn it, he went on the attack. He posted, "Advice to Trump, flee now." Then he followed it up by going after Dr. Ronnie Jackson. In brief, Ronnie Jackson isn't a doctor, which is perfect because Trump wasn't hit by a bullet. It said everything about Keith's TDS. Instead of basic decency, he went straight to the "it was staged" and denied the whole thing. Then the ultimate insult to Keith. November 2024, Trump won again. The very outcome Keith had devoted his life to preventing happened despite all his ranting. And Keith, he remained on the sidelines, screaming into his microphone to an ever-shrinking audience. Olbermann reacted to Trump's 2024 victory with predictably caustic fury. He was dumbfounded that Hispanics overwhelmingly voted for Trump, even warning that Trump was trying to put them in internment camps.
I apologize to you. I should have seen this coming Sunday night when I tripped over that Times Siena poll from last month of Hispanic voters. Trump, who can now lay claim to being the Grover Cleveland of our time, runs on anti-immigrant nativism and hate, anti-Hispanic, anti-Latino, anti-Mexican, anti-Puerto Rican, anti-Latin American. Clearly has plans for internment camps. Trump won Latino males by 11 points, and I have 2 words to say to them, and they are on behalf of the Trump administration, and the words are, bye now.
He railed that America was now permanently broken, that Trump's return meant the end of freedom. He vowed to continue his daily assaults on the Trump dictatorship via his podcast. But at this point, it was sound and fury, signifying nothing. Hardly anyone beyond his most loyal Twitter followers even paid attention. In 2025, with Trump back in the Oval Office, Keith Olbermann entered the final stage of his meltdown. His commentary grew even more hysterical and deranged. He accused the new Trump administration of literally plotting to destroy American democracy from within. Episode titles of the podcast were stuff like "Trump Doctrine Destroy the White House" and "Defund the Trump Dictatorship."
It is essential that governors like Newsom and Pritzker and Hochul and others in the majority states protect their citizens who are being subject to taxation without representation and without democracy, and for them, the governors, to take responsibility for these acts. The state of California must refuse to send any funds it can control to Washington. The state of Illinois must refuse to send any funds it can control to Washington. The state of New York must refuse to send any funds it can control to Washington. And if it wrecks the world economy, so be it. That will be better than what we have now and what is coming under Trump.
He was now lashing out at anyone and everyone. In early 2025, Olbermann demanded the immediate arrest of Trump officials like DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Tom Homan, absurdly accusing them of contempt of court and calling their enforcement of Trump's policies administrative terror.
The director of ICE, Tom Homan, and his boss, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, must be arrested for contempt of court.
Of course, no such arrest happened. It was pure fantasy shouted into the ether. Olbermann also started turning on people on his own side. In April 2025, liberal comedian Bill Maher had a cordial meeting with President Trump, an attempt at open dialogue. That sent Keith completely over the edge. He recorded an unhinged, hysterical rant condemning Maher for going full MAGA.
It's an honor to be invited to the White House now, after what Trump did with Zelensky in the White House? Oh, Hitler's invited me to the Reichskanzlei. Maybe I can get a selfie with him. Maybe he'll let me wear his hat.
It was a vicious attack on a fellow liberal simply for talking to Trump. By now, Keith saw traitors everywhere. Then came the ugliest moment of all. Charlie Kirk was tragically assassinated by a left-wing extremist while speaking at a university. The nation was shocked and mourned, but not Keith Olbermann. Keith reacted by effectively justifying the murder. He coldly declared that Kirk died because he lived in Trump's violent America, placing the blame on Trump rather than the killer.
It is also clear that there is truly only one person whose words created, amplified, mainstreamed, and manufactured the nightmarish environment that has led to Charlie Kirk's death. The leading threat in this country, in this moment, to the safety and the lives of conservatives and Republicans and MAGA commentators is not George Soros, is not Antifa, is not Gavin Newsom. The leading threat in this country, in this moment, to the safety and the lives of conservatives and Republicans and MAGA is Donald Trump.
In a chilling display, Olbermann even suggested the assassin was just protecting someone, aka his trans lover.
Now that we can say with some certainty that if Tyler Robinson indeed shot Charlie Kirk, he shot him for personal reasons, that he saw Kirk as a direct threat to someone he loved.
And when a broadcast network preempted Jimmy Kimmel's show to honor Charlie Kirk, Olbermann spat "Burn in Hell Sinclair" alongside Charlie Kirk. Yes, he literally told a media company and a murder victim who was a godly man to burn in hell. This was beyond the pale. Any shred of decency Olbermann still had left was gone. Just days later, Keith aimed similar rage at a CNN commentator, Scott Jennings, who had criticized him. Scott Jennings tweeted about Olbermann facing consequences, and Keith explosively replied, "You're next, mother." Had Keith Olbermann just threatened to harm someone? Realizing he'd crossed a line and possibly fearing legal repercussions, Keith promptly deleted the tweet. In a rambling pseudo-apology, Keith wrote that he meant Jennings' career was next, not his life. But even in that apology, Olbermann couldn't help but sling more insults, calling Jennings a fascist who needed to be purged from TV. It was a perfect encapsulation of Keith's mental state. Even when trying to save himself, he couldn't stop the venom from pouring out. All in all, Keith Olbermann destroyed himself while trying to destroy Trump, and Trump never even acknowledged him. Keith went from a loud leftist to a full-blown propagandist, completely consumed by one of the worst cases of TDS we've ever seen. Except
Rosie O'Donnell.
Click right there if you want to hear that story.